Live from the slightly twisted deck bar, it's the Poojie Podcast with Justin Lemie.
The Poojie Podcast is proudly sponsored by Cimarron Golf Club, located in Jacksonville, Florida, off County Road 210, just west of St. John's Parkway.
Yes, thank you to Cimarron Golf Club. Great job over there at Cimarron off County Road 210. Love playing golf over there. Getting out there on the weekends. Beautiful course. Love what they've done over there. I'm excited for this episode. Tampa Bay Lightning are Stanley Cup champions, so I had to rock the jersey. We have NFL football week 4 coming up this weekend. Excited about that. Great slate of college football as well. Getting some of those bigger conferences back into play here in the coming weeks. Looking forward to that as well. I do want to start this episode with a brief segment, the NBA Finals preview, before we jump into our NFL Week 4 preview. So I do want to welcome on Zach Munoz to the program to kind of go through his thoughts as a Miami Heat fan, what this means for the city of Miami, and just kind of what he expects facing the LeBron-led Los Angeles Lakers, a player that formerly played for the Miami Heat, had brought them a championship in his time there, and what his feelings are on maybe some of the unsung heroes that the Heat have, maybe some of the players that the rest of the NBA world needs to start waking up about. So take a listen to this, and then we will jump into our NFL Week 4 preview with the rest of the NFL panel. So enjoy this. Thanks. So we are here with Miami sports fan Zach Munoz. I know he has to be excited. A lot going on in the world of Miami sports, more so than it seems ever has been the case at once. Was talking to him briefly before this. First of all, if you don't know Zach, he called the Dolphins over the Jaguars Thursday night matchup in our Week 3 NFL preview. So he got all of Jacksonville panel. He got the better of all of us, I will say. But here he is to talk about the Miami Heat in their NBA Finals against the Lakers. But first, Zach, I mean, Big Brother at 8 o'clock tonight leading into Game 1 of the NBA Finals. What an exciting night for you, man.
Yeah, man, it's super exciting. Also, not to forget that the Marlins just won Game 1 of their playoff series. So we got that going today. We got Big Brother at 8 o'clock, and then the Heat taking on the Lakers in Game 1 tonight. All the sports, reality shows, I love it. It's a time that you don't get baseball and basketball mixing like this, so it's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot of fun. I know me as a Lightning fan, I've enjoyed seeing all the other sports around the Stanley Cup final. Obviously, the Lightning won the Stanley Cup, which was great. I'm happy, honestly, to have that on the back burner because now I can focus on the MLB playoffs, which, like you mentioned, the Marlins win. And by the time people are listening to this, the Marlins very well could be on to their next round as their Game 2 is tomorrow at 2 o'clock. So things are moving quick. If you listen to episode 47, the MLB postseason preview, games are going to be moving quick this postseason, as I'm sure they're trying to give the players as much of an offseason as they can. So congrats to the Miracle Marlins, the Miami Marlins, man. It's great to see what they're doing, and especially Jumbo Shrimp here in Jacksonville, seeing all of our players contribute to the Marlins magic is fantastic. But as far as the Heat goes, you've done this before. You did the postseason preview, you did the midseason update or the mid-postseason update. What do you got to say leading into this finals? What are your initial thoughts? Without any question, just what are your initial thoughts?
Yeah, my initial thoughts, honestly, is surprisingly, I was correct. I mean, I had a really good feeling about us, but I did not think that we would be – because really, we have been just dominating every round with 4 games, 5 games, 6 games. Now we're going to have a tough test, but yeah, I'm just surprised that I was correct, but I didn't think we'd just be that dominant.
So you weren't expecting the dominance. You're surprised that you were correct, but at the end of the day, we're all going to be hopeful for our teams, and your hope came to fruition. I saw you even posted on Twitter that you had took back in August that you had Heat Lakers exact final matchup at, what was it, like plus 1,700 or something like that, plus 1,000?
Yeah, I took that bet back in, I want to say the 21st of July. So it was before any bubble games even were played, the regular season or the play-in games. So I took the Heat versus the Lakers, and I think it was like plus like 1750. So yeah, it was a nice payout there. Very nice payout. Yeah, I was very happy to see them pull that one out.
That's awesome. So Lakers obviously a fantastic team from what I've read and what I've seen. A lot of people are taking Lakers in 6, Lakers in 5. That LeBron, I guess the LeBron bias. I don't even want to call it bias because he's just really damn good. So just the LeBron effect, I guess we'll call it. Why are those people wrong? What do the Heat have that people aren't seeing that's going to maybe push them to even a game 7 or potentially win the series?
Yeah, so when it comes to that matchup, one thing that people got to realize is, and we've seen it throughout the playoffs with the Lakers, is when LeBron and Anthony Davis, I mean, they can do a lot, but they need their role players to step up also. And the problem is those role players aren't like the Miami Heat role players that are consistently showing up every single day and playing well. The Lakers have one day they might have Kuzma on, or one day they might have Danny Green on, but there's just no consistency with that. So I definitely think that's going to help us. This isn't like the Boston Celtics where 4 guys can beat us. They have 2 guys with LeBron and AD that we can't let beat us. I would just say let the rest of the guys do the work.
Yeah, and you say that, it sounds a lot like a rich man's Milwaukee Bucks where Giannis struggled throughout the postseason when the role players weren't stepping up. Obviously, Giannis doesn't have anyone nearly the caliber of Anthony Davis, but that's what Giannis struggled with the Milwaukee Bucks in their series. Let's see, I guess, if the Lakers maybe come out on a slow start. I think what the key is going to be is the Miami Heat gaining some confidence, being told by everyone else that they will not win the series. If they can win one game or maybe go into game 5 tied 2-2 in the series, whenever you get to a best of 3 series in this type of situation, these 2 teams are here for a reason. So I think that's best case scenario for the Heat is don't let the series get away from them early and make sure they're doing the things like you mentioned with consistency. Duncan Robinson, Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, those types of guys. Who would you say is most important to the success of the Miami Heat as far as that consistency goes?
Oh, this may be a little curveball, but I wouldn't say a player. I would honestly say Eric Spoelstra. I think people have underrated him so much throughout the years because he had LeBron, Chris Bosh, and Dwayne Wade. But the year after we lost LeBron, we were right back in the playoffs competing with Bosh and Wade. Wade was getting very old. Unfortunately, Bosh had to deal with the health issue that he had. But, I think Eric Spoelstra has these guys ready to play day in and day out. And then it also helps to have a veteran guy on the bench like Udonis Haslem who gets in these guys' heads and lets them know, like, to keep the focus on one thing, that we have these many days. Let's just focus on this for the next few days, and then after that, we can figure out what we're going from.
And I like you said that about Spoelstra. I think a lot of what he did with LeBron is kind of what bolstered his resume, but what I think he's doing now is going to be the meat and potatoes of his resume when his coaching career is done, because you look at teams in Cleveland when they had LeBron, they had similar success. So I think it was important for Spoelstra's legacy for him to find success without LeBron, and that's exactly what he's done. Unbelievable pace as well, getting back to this level without LeBron over the last 3 or 4 seasons for the Miami Heat to get back to this level. And we saw the fall from grace that the Cleveland Cavaliers had when they lost LeBron. The fact that the Heat only had to deal with that for maybe 1 season and they bounced back and they started being a competitive team again says a lot about him as a coach. But before I let you go, my last question for you, and I'm going to put you on the spot, and I've done this before, so I apologize. I'm not necessarily looking for a prediction. If you want to give me that, great. I don't want to put you on the spot. A prediction is great. But tomorrow when people are listening, or Friday when people are listening, what is the series going to be at after game 1 tonight?
Oh, after game 1 tonight, I'm putting my money on the Miami Heat tonight. I think we're coming in. We're confident. We've dominated every team, and I think we're coming in there gonna be shooting lights out, And I just trust our guys. I really trust our guys. I don't trust after LeBron and Anthony Davis. I don't trust that anybody on the Lakers squad except for maybe Rondo. But he's not someone that's going to be giving you 25 points a game. He's going to start offense, but I just don't trust them. I trust our guys. I've seen what we can do. And I think people are still underestimating us. And I think we could actually take the entire series. So.
All right, I like it. I didn't want to put you on the spot before, but after hearing that, now I am going to put you on the spot. What is your finals prediction, Heat versus Lakers?
Hey, all right. So my finals prediction. Remember, everybody, I've so far been correct about the Heat making it to the finals. I've been correct about the Dolphins beating the Jags. So I'm making it a third time in a row.
You've also been correct about the Marlins making the playoffs as well. So
forgot about that one. I did say they would win the division, but you know what? We're still in the playoffs. That's okay. We'll go 2.5 there. We're going to make it 3.5 with a full correct statement. The Heat win in 6. 4-2. We're taking it in 6.
Heat in 6. Wow. That's a bold prediction there, but that's what we love here on the Poojie Podcast. Zach, I appreciate you being here. It was fantastic. Always catching up with you, all things Miami. Have a little Miami segue between here and Jacksonville. So I like giving the fans the input on the Miami Dolphins, the Miami Heat, the Miami Marlins, all things Miami. Appreciate you being here. Fans listening, people listening, watching, whatever, stick around for Week 4 NFL preview coming up right now, immediately following this. Zach, thanks again, man. So thank you to Zach Munoz, Miami Heat fan. As you can tell from that clip, diehard Miami Heat fan. Very excited for him. The 5th seed Miami Heat making it through the NBA playoffs in the bubble and making it to the finals. A great matchup there. Going to be a joy to watch that. But we are here to talk NFL football as well. Week 4 coming up after an extremely rough Week 3 for me. I went 7-9 on my picks, bringing me to a grand total of 33-15 on the year after starting 26-6. So a rough 7-9 week for me. I was predicting some upsets, did not get those to fall. But we do have the NFL panel here, the Jaguar panel here to go through Week 4. They've done a great job the first 3 weeks. And the Jaguars are lined up against the Cincinnati Bengals in Week number 4 at Cincinnati. Let's have Luke jump in and kind of recap Week 3, Thursday Night Football's bloodbath against the Miami Dolphins. Luke, what do you got to say, man?
Here's what I have to say. Jags equal bad. And that's what I have to say.
So that's our recap of Week 3. No, I'm just kidding. Luke, thank you for that input. Jacob, we'll bring you in here, Mr. Recap himself. Always has a great spin on things, good or bad. Jacob, give me your thoughts from the Thursday night game.
Well, I concur with Luke. Jags are bad. Well, actually, while it looked very bad, I think there's some positive takeaway. Overall, it wasn't a great game. I think there was plenty of things that need to be fixed. The defense is just atrocious. But the offense, surprisingly, watching the game back, we moved the ball pretty well. I was really surprised that as well as we moved the ball, we just didn't finish drives. And that came with some really big mistakes. Conley had some big drops. One for just an easy first down, a big play downfield he dropped. We lost Cam Robinson off a very weird disqualification. And then I remember Will Richardson causing a big false start that put us in a 4th and 11 as opposed to a much 4th and short that we could have almost picked up. Minshew looked pretty decent. The overall offense looked surprisingly decent for what the score was. James Robinson, I don't know if that guy's a star in the making, but he's just playing lights out for us. It's crazy. I think the defense needs to tighten up. If we don't get pressure this week with our defense, that's when you start looking at Todd Wash. But I think there's still some positives to look at with the offense. Minshew and the offense can only do so much when the defense is not helping them out.
And I like you mentioning James Robinson there, one of the few bright spots the Jaguars can focus on the roster. Will he be a building block that they kind of keep around for a long time coming? Who knows? We've seen undrafted free agents pan out in the league for some time now. And James Robinson was actually your prediction for the Thursday night matchup, said 120 rushing yards, which he only had 50, but I think he had close to over 100 total yards, and he did have 2 touchdowns. So pretty much as spot on as you could be there. considering the rest of the panel, including myself and Kyle Verban, who's not here, all took the Jaguars to win that game, with Zach Munoz, Dolphin fan Zach, taking the Dolphins 24-21. So he gets the victory there after taking some bad-mouthing from this panel. Jacob, you also had Patriots versus Raiders as your intrigue matchup. A pretty pedestrian game there. It looked like the Raiders were going to hold tough against the Patriots. Patriots ended up coming out on top. Dak Prescott, 400-plus passing yards and 3 touchdowns to upset the Seahawks. Extremely close there. He did not upset the Seahawks. Russell Wilson got the best of him, as he normally does when he plays in Seattle. Let's welcome Sam in here. Sam, you had predicted the Jags to win, and you had the Eagles versus the Bengals as your intrigue matchup last week. I'm not sure if you got to see any of that game, but the first NFL game this season to end in a tie. Why was that your intrigue matchup?
All right, well, first thoughts on the Jags. It's drinking time for us Jags fans. Not stiff drink time just yet, but we are getting there, almost to mock draft season. But not anywhere close, but I know a couple Jags fans are thinking that. Not looking good for our defense. Our pass rush is not anything I think anyone expected. I think Josh Allen got his first sack, but you could tell after he got it that, he wasn't very excited about it for being his first sack. He really thinks that he should have more, and he definitely needs to get better as well as the entire defensive line. My intrigue matchup was the Bengals versus the Eagles, which, as if anyone watched, resulted in an overtime tie for the teams. Neither team could put it together. Carson Wentz with a game-tying touchdown at the end with his legs, but I think everyone can see, his QBR is nothing like it was when he was in the top 100. I think he was number 3 in the top 100 not like 2 or 3 years ago. So just regression on that team all around, including the most important position. Minshew looked good though.
And Minshew kind of held his own. You had him for a 3-touchdown night, extending his 3-touchdown streak, which did not happen. Let's see if he can bounce back against Cincinnati, who isn't really performing the best, but they do look like a pretty decent team right now. Luke, jump on in. I know you said Jags equal bad. Your intrigue matchup was last night's Monday night's game against the Ravens and Chiefs. Your prediction was 31-24 Jags. C.J. Henderson, 2 picks. I think the only thing you really hit was a potential Ravens-Chiefs intrigue matchup. 27-20 at one point in that game, but the Chiefs just seemed to control that whole game.
Yeah, touching on the Jags, Chris Conley had a few drops that really killed a drive or two. Minshew dropped one into the breadbasket about 30, 40 yards downfield, and he just let it go through his hands. So clean up some of those drops. Todd Wash got to go. That defense is giving up 30 points a game. It's pretty bad. So that's what I have to say on the Jags. My intrigue matchup was the Chiefs and the Ravens, because I believe that will probably be the AFC. The winner of that will go to the Super Bowl, and you're going to see that in the playoffs. Now, the Ravens did get beat by the Chiefs. I think that gives the Ravens a little bit of ammunition, and so if they meet again in the playoffs, they might come back firing.
And Lamar Jackson officially 0-3 against Patrick Mahomes. He is 21-4 the rest of his regular season games as a starter. 3 of those 4 losses coming to the Chiefs, and this one was in Baltimore. I think a lot of people felt he would maybe be able to get over that Mahomes hump, but maybe Mahomes showing why he was the higher drafted quarterback by the Kansas City Chiefs in the draft before Lamar Jackson. Well, let's get into week 4 right here. Jacob, we'll welcome you back on. Obviously, poor taste in our mouth about the Jaguars and the Dolphins game. Is there any reason to be optimistic about this week 4 matchup against the Cincinnati Bengals? And what would your prediction be in that game?
I think the best reason to be optimistic is that we're just out of Thursday night. That was a terrible night. We're moving on. We had a little short bye week, if you will, to go and play a rookie quarterback, in Cincinnati, give it that. But I think the Bengals are a team we should be able to beat despite our poor performance against Miami. The offense still looked like it was able to move down the field. It's just got to clean up those drops, as Luke said. Hopefully we don't get some strange penalties like ejections, and the defense can, maybe do some exotic things to try to throw off a Joe Burrow at quarterback. Because every week I'm thinking he's going to get his first one. I hope it's not against us.
Yeah, and what would your intrigue matchup for Week 4 be? And out of the 3-0 teams or the 0-3 teams, are there any pretenders or contenders out there for you?
Well, it's very interesting you asked me those questions both at once, because my intrigue matchup is going to be Minnesota at Houston. And right now they're both 0-3. I think nobody would have ever thought that those would be two 0-3 teams. I was just looking at it. Minnesota is the fourth worst pass defense right now. So Deshaun Watson should be able to carve that up. And then on the other side, Houston appears to be the worst run defense. So this could still be a close game despite both of them struggling. Houston's played much tougher opponents in terms of the two Super Bowl favorites, I would say, in Kansas City and the Baltimore Ravens. So this is going to be a game who's going to get the first win. Are we going to have Kirk Cousins kind of, crap the bed, if you will, or is Deshaun Watson going to play well? We don't know. I mean, I kind of hope that the Vikings beat the Texans, but this is just a game we'll see someone that should be playing well by the end of the season get their first one.
And, it's funny you mentioned that Minnesota was very close to beating the Titans, lost due to 6 field goals from Steven Gostkowski, a guy that couldn't make a field goal week 1 of the NFL season, makes 6. Seems like he's back to his old New England Patriot ways there in Tennessee. Luke, what do you have to say? Intrigue matchup for Week 4, possible pretender or contender in the league right now?
Funny you mentioned the Titans, because they are my intrigue matchup of the week. The 3-0 Steelers versus the 3-0 Titans. So to piggyback off of that, I think the Titans are a bit of a pretender. The 3 teams they have beat have a combined 1 win, and that is the Jacksonville Jaguars, us here. They beat the 0-3 Broncos, and they beat the 0-3 Vikings, all by less than 3 points or less. So, I mean, they haven't been blowing these teams out, and all these teams don't even have a win yet. So I think they are pretenders, and the Steelers have a really rock-solid defense. So I think the Steelers are going to come out on top and show that the Titans aren't as good as people think they are.
Dennis Green style. They aren't who we thought they were as far as Luke is concerned. He thinks the Titans are pretenders, but the Steelers, very much contenders. They look great there in Pittsburgh after that win against Houston. And you mentioned the 0-3 Broncos. My intrigue matchup, Broncos-Jets. No, I'm just kidding. I'll get to my intrigue matchup later. The 0-3 Broncos, 0-3 Jets on Thursday Night Football. The only thing to save the Jaguar fans from embarrassment of their Thursday night game is a game between Sam Darnold and some guy named Rippin. So that's going to be a really funny matchup Thursday night. Might have to watch Big Brother instead of Thursday Night Football for the first time in a while with a triple eviction coming up. Sam, let's go to you real quick. Your intrigue matchup for Week 4 and possible pretender or contender in the league.
Yeah, I'm also looking forward to the Broncos-Jets game, but I think a game that we really want to be looking at here, and I think is the most interesting matchup, is the Buffalo in Las Vegas game. Buffalo beating the Rams with a late Josh Allen scoring drive. Man, that was great to watch. I said last week, we want to see if this team's for real, and I think they proved last week that they are for real, and Josh Allen is on a revenge tour, and he's shown everybody why he was the number 6 overall pick 3 years ago. So I think that's a great matchup. Las Vegas coming off a loss in New England. I predicted correctly. Bill Belichick was going to be able to scheme correctly against that team. Darren Waller and Josh Jacobs both a little banged up that game as well. So if you're going to attack the Bills, the way you do it is on the ground. They have Josh Jacobs. Las Vegas also has a really terrible run D, so I think we'll see a lot of ground and pound out of that game. But like I said last week, we want to keep watching the Bills. And if they can get a win out in Las Vegas against a tough John Gruden-led team, then that'll just be more ammo for him moving forward in the playoffs.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that game because I was between 2 teams for my pretenders. My pretender I'm going to go with is going to be the Chicago Bears, but the Buffalo Bills were my second team I was going to go with, simply from the fact that we've seen this before from the Bills. They get off to a hot start, and then they kind of get worn down. They start going on losing streaks. They start falling apart, and they end up just like abysmal 7-9, 6-10, 8-8. Last season, they obviously made the playoffs. They made a run in the playoffs, but we've seen it before from the Bills. I don't trust them yet, but I'm going to say my pretender right now is going to be the Chicago Bears, and I think they lose against the Colts in Chicago. I think the Colts will have their number. The Colts are a good team, a team that should theoretically maybe be 3-0, considering their only loss is to Jacksonville. But I say the Chicago Bears. And then let's get Verbin's picks in here. Kyle Verbin couldn't join us today. He has the Cleveland Browns at Dallas Cowboys as his intrigue matchup. He's excited to see Dak Prescott against Baker Mayfield. I know that for a fact. His hot take, since we're getting into the hot take in predictions, is going to be Lamar Jackson bounces back from a loss with 100 yards rushing and throws for 3 touchdowns. So that's looking like it's going to be over 400 total yards. And his Jaguar prediction I'll give at the end of this, but let's go over to Jacob real quick. Actually, let me give my intrigue matchup. I apologize. Atlanta at Green Bay. Atlanta 0-3. Green Bay coming off of a great win against the New Orleans Saints, who are surprisingly 1-2 right now. Atlanta blowing 2 15-point fourth quarter leads in back-to-back games. Simply embarrassing. Very embarrassing. We've seen them blow leads in the Super Bowl a few years ago. Now we've seen them blow 15-point leads back-to-back weeks here in weeks 2 and 3. Let's see how big of a lead they're going to blow to Green Bay in week 4, if they're even going to be leading at all. I think Green Bay takes this one, but I'm excited to see the Atlanta Falcons potentially blow a third straight lead. At this point, it's got to be something within that culture that they just believe will happen, so I feel bad for them in that regard. That's my intrigue matchup. So, Jacob, now let's get to you, your Jaguar prediction and your NFL or Jaguar hot take for week 4.
All right, so obviously I tried to take what I could from that Thursday night game into this because I've been a pretty positive Jags fan. I still want to be positive, but I'm going to be a little closer in this one. I think the Jags will squeak this one out. I think it'll be 24-21 Jags, but I think it's going to be scary because depending on who gets that final drive, I feel like if Joe Burrow gets that final drive, he's going to move down the field, make us sweat, and just hope that the defense holds up. But I think the Jags can do it. I think the offense will stay rolling, and James Robinson will have a good game. For a hot take, I don't really have many details on how or why, but I'm actually going to go against what you said about Chicago and Indy. I feel Foles taking over. Some little Foles magic is about to pop out, and he's going to Colts at home, maybe throw 3 touchdowns, and hopefully help us out in the AFC South.
Foles magic, helping the Jaguars out since he couldn't do it when he was on our team. Now helping us out while he's in Chicago. And what was the number you put on the Jags-Bengals game? What was the score prediction?
Jags win 24-21.
24-21 Jags. Okay, all right, I can respect that. Let's go to Luke. What do you got to say? Jags-Bengals prediction. Give us your hot take.
So my Jags-Bengals prediction, I'm going to keep betting high on these scores because our defense isn't doing us any favors. And if we're going to win, we need a Minshew miracle, which is a little bit better than Minshew magic because he needs to score a lot of points. So I'm going to say 27-24. I want the Jaguars to win, so I'm going to pick the Jaguars to win 27-24 over the Bengals. My hot take is that the Dolphins will play the Seattle Seahawks tight because it is a West Coast team coming all the way down to Miami, playing at 1 o'clock in the heat. They might cover the spread. If it's a touchdown spread, could be a play.
I like it. I was actually just looking at the schedule now and was potentially going to roll with that as well. Luckily I have a few others in my back pocket that I was going to go with, but I like that one for sure. DJ Leggett, Sam, come on. What you got for a prediction and your hot takes?
So, prediction for the Jags. I got, unfortunately, the Bengals eking out their first win in Cincinnati. It's a high-scoring game, 28-27, but the Bengals end up pulling it out with some Joe Burrow touchdowns through the air until I see the Jags secondary stop anything. then I'm going to be taking the quarterback number 1 for this draft in Joe Burrow. CJ Henderson getting progressively worse as the games go on this season, so we really like to see him turn it around. And this game could be a wake-up call if Joe Burrow ends up scoring some points on him. For me, my hot take is about the Falcons. I think the Falcons are a really interesting team this year. Obviously, like you said, 2% chance of winning or losing. 2% chance to lose each game, and they ended up losing it. So what are the odds on that? I think that could do two things for a team. I think that could either motivate them, and I think it's early in the season, so I really think that's the way to go, or it could crush them, lead to a coach ousting. But I think it's early in the year. I think Matt Ryan's going to put it together this week and throw for 3 touchdowns. Julio Jones missing last week obviously had a bit effect on him, but we'll see. I think they're going to rally behind Matt Ryan now, and you got to win this week.
I like it, and I'll tell you the chances are 2% that they would have lost that game. You asked what the odds were, 2%. So that's what it is from Atlanta. Great matchup against the Packers, though. I think the Packers are a really good team. It sounds like the type of game that will be a closer game than I expect because it's Monday night and it's the Falcons-Packers. I feel like they always have some pretty close games. The intrigue matchup, the prediction I'm going to go with, for the Jags-Bengals, I'm also going to take the Bengals, unfortunately, 24-23. Not happy about it, but I feel like this is the type of game that the Jaguars could win and restore some faith in the franchise. But after seeing what Joe Burrow was about to do and lead the fourth quarter winning drive 2 weeks ago, I think it was against the Chargers, only to have a missed field goal, I watched enough of that game and him to know that he is the real deal and our defense is not the real deal. I think he's going to take advantage of that. I hope our defense can prove me wrong. 24-23 Bengals from me. My hot take, similar to Luke's hot take as far as an upset, is going to be the Detroit Lions upsetting the New Orleans Saints. Now, I know it's not kind of classified as an upset. Both teams are 1-2 right now, but the Saints, I think, are by most noted as the far superior team in that matchup. But after the Lions were able to upset Kyler Murray and the Cardinals last week on a game-winning field goal out of Matt Prater, product of UCF, I think the Lions are also going to beat the New Orleans Saints, move to 2-2, and the Saints are going to be in danger in the NFC South at 1-3, with Tampa Tom leading the way in that division. So that's going to be my hot take. Detroit wins, and not only wins, I'll say wins by at least a touchdown. So that's my hot take there. Verbin's prediction, Kyle Verbin says Jags win an ugly game 17-14. Not as high scoring as some of us believe it to be. He obviously thinks that the defense will be able to stymie Joe Burrow to a certain extent. For our sake as Jags fans, I hope the Jags score more than 17 points. 13 points last week against the Dolphins was not something fun to watch in a game that we thought would kind of solidify us as an kind of a Cinderella team in the league, going 2-1, then potentially 3-1 against the Bengals. So that's all I have for today. Any of you three have anything else as far as week 4 is concerned, NFL is concerned?
I will say this, my intrigue matchup, just in case this happens, because I know it's in question with there's been like COVID, things going around with the Titans. Minnesota and Texans are both linked to that, so they may not play. So if that happens, just go watch something like the Patriots go play the Chiefs or something.
I'm very, very surprised no one took Patriots-Chiefs as their intrigue matchup, but I guess after seeing the way the Chiefs played last night, maybe it's just going to be a butt-whooping of the Chiefs over the Patriots. So who knows? But Cam Newton, he's played pretty well these first few weeks. Beating the Raiders last week, that's going to be a good game too. But if there's nothing else, guys, thanks for joining. Thanks for being on. 4th week in a row. It's fun doing this. It's a lot more fun when the Jags win or at least play well. So hopefully we have a good game Sunday. Not sure if you guys are going to make your way over to the Slightly Twisted Deck Bar or not. That's where I plan to be, but we will discuss that at a later date. So thanks for being here, and thanks for watching, everyone. It was fantastic doing this, and you guys go enjoy the rest of your week. Take care.
Yes.
How can I be the man when you're the man? How can I be the man when you're the man? How can I be the man when you're the man?